Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're here for the final game of day one of Super Week here on the LJL. Strictly, this is week 5, and tomorrow will be week 6, but that sounds weird even to me. And thus, we will go for our 8th game today. It is, of course, Detonation FocusMe versus the Hawks. Hawks just got leveled by CGA, who just leveled V3. Who did a pretty damn good job of putting DFM in the dirt just before that. And these two teams will be smarting with their losses. And I know in the break, Mass1 was saying some choice words about what kind of DFM you were expecting. Care to share with the stream, sir?
Oh, absolutely. I'm more than happy to do this. This is the angry DFM. We've all seen them before. They don't like losing. And especially when they get to play against a team that is below them in the standings, it's just a horrible place. It's great fun to watch, though. I'm looking forward to watching this because DFM will draft whatever they want to here, and they're just looking to kill. They're going to play like an LPL team, and I believe that's kind of in your wheelhouse, Counterfeit.
Yes, I'm glad to see this cross-regional style of play. I mean, certainly, Gango in the last game from the AD carry position was able to crush. Utapon, I think, has just as much opportunity to do the same thing.
Yeah, and I think I do want to throw an eye over to Utapon as well, actually. DFM have obviously struggled a lot with consistency. We've had issues with their mid-game team fighting. Hell, we saw it a little bit in their V3 game. Yes, they were down quite a lot of gold, but they were at the right item points. Couldn't find a team fight properly to save their lives post about 10 minutes. That said, when DFM have been doing well, even when they have been struggling, it has been Utapon who has been an absolute rock for this squad, putting out numbers. Lexi, do you want to just give me a little bit of your thoughts on Utapon as a player as we sort of come into this match?
Yeah, he's been a player that's been slightly quieter coming into this split, has been performing pretty well, but hasn't been the main way that DFM has been winning all of their games. It is kind of the narrative that I have been noticing from a lot of the LJL teams. Yutori Moashi is in that similar kind of boat where the team hasn't been playing through him. Archer is also weirdly in that same boat. A lot of these AD carries that were just so strong moving throughout the spring split and were arguably the way that a lot of teams were winning haven't been that case. And it's not a trend that we've been seeing in other regions. It just seems to be over in our region. And I think Utapon is definitely, arguably, the most important member in a lot of spots for DFM, and it's weird that they haven't played through him as much.
Partly, and I will contest the V3 one a little, but I know exactly what you mean. I think my read on it, and I would like to throw this to you guys to see what you think about it, is that it's partly because a lot of the LJL junglers are carry junglers, and they are hard carry junglers in a meta where Karzik and Graves, and Echo, and Nidalee want to take all the farm, want to take all the kills, want to take all the glory, and that inevitably means that the AD carry sometimes plays second fiddle. And yeah, Archer has been a great carry, but when you've got Boogie on your squad, sometimes you just have to let that man take kills. Gents, what are your thoughts on that as a kind of read on where we're going? And to take that on a little bit further, once we're done with that question, do you think Steel and Tussle fit into that same mold? Let's go with Counter first.
I mean, certainly the Tussle being on Trundle in the previous game and failing to perform puts a little bit of the lid on the expectations there. But over for Detonation Steel, I mean, they are pretty much everywhere, as we saw from the previous game. Just they've got very, very high kill participation. They would normally come in and decide those kills. So I don't think there's any reason to think that won't be the case here.
I completely agree. I have a very large amount of random anime music in my ears, and I don't quite know why, but here we go. Continue speaking about it.
Okay, well, while you have fun with anime music, I don't know what pop-up you've been clicking.
It was Parsec just suddenly started playing loads of anime music at me.
Yeah, it's happening to me too.
Yeah, so fix that one out, but it's no longer doing that to me.
Is it
I
now
have
gone?
muted Parsec.
Yes.
I have muted Parsec, so I have no idea. But should now be.
Is it a sign though, gents? Is it a sign?
Is it a sign? This is the LJL, man. Of course, there's anime music around, even when we're talking about things.
Is it an anime comeback story in the making here, though, for the Hawks?
Oh, it would be a bold time to go for it. And of course, I know where you're going to go with this. So please do tell me a story about how the anime redemption arc runs for the Hawks.
All right. So for the Hawks, they've been beaten down. Their wings have been clipped. They are on their last little bird legs, crawling across the floor. This is the perfect time for them to suddenly have blazing eyes. Their feathers stick up in different directions, and they go into this champ select, and we see a miracle, a Christmas miracle here in July.
Look, we're not on square one. Nymera's not around. We're done with the Christmas jokes, and I refuse to have them brought up around me.
No.
Speaking of, enough of this silliness.
Not on my desk. No.
Before I throw you to... It's my desk right now, and I will destroy you for it, Counterfeit. But at this point in time, I do want predictions, mass one, and then I'll throw it over to you, guys, for Champs Select.
DFM 25 minutes.
Hawk time! Right. It's Hawk time! It's the comeback story of the century. You wouldn't believe it. 3-6 against 4v5. That's the time. It's the Hawks' time. They're going up 6th place, crushing everyone else. It's going to happen this time.
I think either story would be quite entertaining, so I will leave it to you, gents, to tell me which way it ends up. Take it away for the last game of the day.
Alright, so let's jump across and check out these bans for DFM. They looks like they're focusing down the mid lane pretty heavily with LeBlanc and Twisted Fate. The set, we've seen it knocking around the place pretty heavily. And Aramix, Akama from last time round, will be banned away, as well as the Aphelios and the Bard. So pretty heavy focus towards the supporting and bot lane presence of DFM.
Yeah, let's just run through these teams for one last time. Tradition does demand it, and DFM on the blue side, Ebby in the top lane, Steel in the jungle, Syros in the mid lane, the Emperor himself, and we have Utapon Gang in that bot lane.
And for the Hawks, we have Aramik, Tussle in the jungle, Dasher and Honey in the bot lane, along with Tsundere, Pooh, who's going to be coming through and unleashing their fury from the support position.
And we've got our first pick coming through. It's this Volleybad that we've been seeing continuously. It's been showing up pretty huge before, as well as this time sometimes doesn't do well. Something of note that I have noticed is that we haven't been seeing the Lucian bans that we used to see against the Hawks, and it's something that we've continued not to see. Just a note that I've noticed from Dasher, as we do see Tussle will be playing this Lee Sin, and Honey has got that Ashe again.
Yeah, so we've seen the power of the Ashe making a play from later on. We saw how much it can even be a carry pick as well. So I really like this from the Hawks, as this feels like outside of the very bottom of the table, this is their best opportunity to make sure they stay in that top 6.
Yeah, they've got to try and draft the most comfort of comfort pick champions. You don't want to have to do anything crazy, especially against a DFM who are definitely unhappy that they are potentially going to fall below Burning Core. Well, actually, no. If they lose this, they will fall below Burning Core, and they will tie with the Fukuoka Hawks in the standings. I couldn't have predicted... Well, I said Magical Christmas Land existed on the podcast. I didn't think it would come true, though.
We're waiting for it to happen, as Syros is going to be bringing out the Syndra into the mid lane, along with the Callista bottom lane. So we did see a fairly heavy focus from the Hawks towards that support position, and it's quite likely at this point that we could see that again heading into the second phase of bans.
Yeah, this is the first pick we've ever seen of this Callista for Utapon, and then we just see Dasher snap lock in this Echo, and okay, Syndra Echo is our mid lane, and we already know our mid lane matchup before we even know who our supports are. God, this is a weird time to be alive at the moment. I'm really not sure. Apparently this is Ever. He's Utapon, who has the 3rd longest tenure on a team, tied with Syros, only behind Faker in tenure on a team, has never played Callista before.
This is the key, Swan.
Okay.
This is the key. This is the anime story we're being told. DFM, they're bruised, they're angry, they're the bullies coming to this situation, looking to take out their rage on the Hawks. But they're bringing in picks that they're not practiced on, because they're also cocky and overconfident, and I think that's going to be DFM's undoing.
Okay, well, we will have to have a look. First two bans have come in for the Hawks, and that's going to be that Lulu and Renekton, targeting partly Gang, as well as also the flex pick that could have happened through the Syndra, but Kalista was already locked in, so no longer happening. And the Renekton from Ebby, a true and tried, done before many times, as Ebby haunted multiple top laners through his sheer dominance. And, well, get rid of it. Seems like a good idea.
Tam Kench, along with Ornn. We know Aramik is very, very comfortable on pick, but we've of course got a top lane to secure for the Hawks here. So they've already got what presumably is their mid lane Echo. It could be joined by another big AoE presence.
Oh no. So we talked about how Aramik doesn't play great weak side. Problem is, Ebby now can decide if he wants to counter pick or not. He can just take the volley bear, just play lane volley bear. It's alright, it's fine. Or he can just counter pick, and that's technically not a counter pick. It's just something that outscales it and removes it from the fight. And I mean, I guess when it's against an Echo and Ashna Lee Sin, not terrible.
Yes, I mean, it's nice if you've got someone with a big team fight AoE to be able to take them out of that team fight. As some more guys that will be confirmed. One more pick for DFM. That support has been heavily focused down by Hawks bans, and it looks like Leona slipping through.
Leona will probably be the pick here. I'm not sure. Gang is a very experienced Leona. Could have also gone for a Thresh, which I wouldn't have hated. But that might also be partly the owner pick, might partly also be just putting Pooh on a more awkward champion that fits in their comp. As the Hawks definitely wanted Leona in a lot of spots. It offers a lot of engage, disengage. It kind of does a lot of easy pick up things. And if they've seen Pooh play a lot in scrims, brilliant time to pick it against them. Especially when you want them to have an uneasy game. Don't put them on champions that are going to be so good. And Alistair isn't a champion we're seeing much of.
No, and it's not one which we've seen much from Pooh at all. Though, to be fair, their style is definitely the tanky crowd control down the bottom lane. So we're set up for an explosive bottom lane. You know, Honey has been so much the focus of the Hawks. If they're playing to what has worked for them before, I have to think it's got to be in getting Honey ahead. And we've got the early game Lee Sin here for the Hawks if they're going to commit in big.
Yeah, and Tussle is a very experienced Lee Sin player. We've got that Echo Syndra matchup, so that does favor Dasher, and 100% this could be partly in the draft's favor of the Hawks. They've got the engage, they've got the disengage, they've got multiple angles they can play this fight. It's really going to depend on how the leads gang be developed. If the Hawks can build leads, I feel like they've got a great opportunity. The problem is, I feel like if they don't get a lead, well, they're just going to get outscaled by Siros's Syndra, by Ebby's Mordekaiser, by Yutapong's Kalista. Only Honey's going to be able to do much against them, and Aramik and Dasher are going to have to try and find weird spots in against Steel and Gang.
Yeah, I mean, we saw for the previous time we looked at the stats of the Hawks that getting it that first blood has really eluded them for the most part. But yeah, I'm excited to see particularly what Tussie can do. You know, this Lee Sin is a Tussie staple from way back, so they're gonna know exactly what to do if the early game is the most important thing.
Yeah, I remember seeing Tussle doing beautiful things back when he was on that Pentagon. Happened to be playing with Ebby as his top laner. Has history there, do these players, especially when they play in this league for such a long time. But his Lee Sin, as you mentioned, he's played it a lot. It's his most played champion of all time, with a KDA of 4.1 for all of these games that he's been playing in the LJL, at least over 3.5 years. Interesting matchup. Now that we've seen the pick and ban phase, Counterfeit, who do you think is favoured?
I'm Hawks ride or die, Swan. I mean, speaking as a
I'll
fellow
PayPal you later.
friend.
I'll PayPal you later. All right.
Yeah, you're a Swan, they're a Hawk. There's a connection there, I feel. I think, certainly coming into this game, I feel a lot more confident than I was for them previously. I think there's a good chance that the Hawks come back here and actually start clawing their way up. As you said, for DFM, a loss here would be, to make this week a 0-2 week for them, especially when one of those games was against the Hawks, would be crushing to their team morale. You come back in looking to try and redeem game 1, to then lose game 2, that's going to follow you for the rest of the season.
Yeah, back-to-back 0-2s for DFM. An 0-2 is unheard of for them. Then we exaggerate it and say, hey, but it's twice now. That's horrible. This is an 0-3 loss streak currently on for DFM. They don't know what winning tastes like now. They started, before they started this loss, at 4-2. And now they're currently sitting at 4-5. Another loss will put them at the same place as the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming and below Burning Core. And they were a team we poised to be the winners of the LJL summer split through what we saw in spring. And, all of us at the analyst desk look pretty stupid right now. In all fairness, we look pretty stupid.
So look at the stats here between the two teams. One that does jump out at me is that for the Hawks, they actually have better Rift Herald control than Detonation does. So if we're talking about trying to get a lead to snowball early on, that would be a logical place for the Hawks to try and take advantage.
Yeah, they do get this. However, their gold is they're always down and gold in comparison to DFM, and their experience is just lower on average than DFM. It's really painting this game as going to be in a really weird place. It's like they're going to get Hawk, they're going to get the Rift Herald, they're not going to get the Dragons, but DFM are going to just be ahead in general. But there's no guarantee that being ahead actually translates into victory. If anything, we've seen DFM constantly have this lead, but they've got they have a negative win rate at the moment. This is new territory for them. They need to kind of get back on track. The only thing that is going for them is a lot of their stats are pretty at like 3rd, 4th place, pretty much across the board.
I mean, these stats certainly could change as a result of this. I mean, you're saying, we had the earlier part of the season where DFM were doing a lot better than they are right now, and I think that's going to buoy up some of their stats, because obviously it's easier to get these objectives, to get these goal leads, to get these kills when you're winning the game. To manage to pull out any kind of decent numbers when you're at a disadvantage is oftentimes extremely difficult.
Yeah, it's really going to be difficult at a lot of spots to actually get that aggression, to actually get ahead. But, sir, I will hand it to you to introduce us.
All right, guys. So, our last game of today, as our first part of the Super Week comes to a close for the Hawks, a chance here to re-establish themselves in the league. For Destination Focus Me, they're looking to try and avenge their loss a little bit earlier on today. But from what we've seen from the draft, this early game could and should be explosive if you're a Hawks fan.
It's definitely going to be that. They've got a lot of explosive potential. There's a lot of things happening. Interesting, though, Spellbook Kennen, meaning he's not going for the aggressive trading Kennen. This is far more of a utility Kennen that's hopeful with that teleportation. Also matched by Ebby, that he's going to be able to play around the map and be far more of a use for his team, rotating around, moving forward. Outside of that, though, nothing too surprising coming out from the runes.
It makes sense. As we saw from the previous game, Aramik on the Karma is a utility player for a team. In this case, it makes sense. They're going to be on the map as much as possible. They're going to be bringing down that cooldown on the teleport with the spellbook, and also just having so much more flexibility to do exactly what the team needs at any given point.
Well, the Twitter vote's not been the most useful thing, but Gang is doing a bunch of damage to Pooh here, but...
oh my gosh! Honey, with a punish, is maybe even looking not quite for the kill, but that's a big pickup for the Hawks early on.
Huge pickup. I thought Pooh was just going to get punished and then that was going to be most of it. Did not expect Honey to play so aggressive and say, hey, that's my support. Leave him alone.
Yeah, well, that follow-up CC, those arrows from Honey, just labeling great chasing potentials we saw in the previous games. Once that Ash gets onto you, it can be pretty darn tricky to actually get away.
But we're back. It's chill. And now they're just farming back up as if nothing ever happened, because with relic shields and the like, you just get the health back, and because the minions are so low and you've got such little health, you regen so much, and it's like you didn't even use a health pot half the time.
Alright, so let's glance around and see how things are developing. So Armic up in the top lane, pushing in pretty hard against Eevee. Bear in mind, from that last game against V3, Eevee ended out with an extremely poor record, ending up dying at least 7 times in that game and barely getting to make a hit. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Maw character in this game to show that they can perform a lot better than they did in game 1.
Yeah, Evie has played like a lot of different... Ooh, punish on Cyros, but Dasher can't do much follow-up because he's got no mana. But Ebby has been able to punish Aramik routinely. And yeah, he had a really unfortunate game for the first time. It's really confusing to see this because Ebby has been the best man at this position. His name is Shrimp for a reason, but it doesn't matter because currently he's got a farm under turret because range versus melee matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there's a small CS leaders. We'll keep our eye on to Tussle, of course. Yeah, they're going to be lurking around on the Lee Sin. So far, we didn't see that really early gank we're hoping for.
No early ganks, full jungle clear. Tussle hasn't even reset at this point in time, so there is an absolute chance that we can see at least a 5-minute gank, but it's unlikely with the pathing he's taken.
Yeah, down the bottom lane, of course, we've got the trading from before. As we're seeing Honey not quite as much damage done trading back as before. Is nice done from Dasher, catching in the teleport, and Ceros gets half health instantly on their return to lane.
Yep, that was pretty unfortunate. That was just a bad TP in, not respecting the fact that Dasher can just put a blob down, stun you, get a shield of his own back, as well as routinely punish you for doing that again. And now Cyros has already had to blow a potion charge, whereas Dasher's still got all 3.
Yeah, very, very nice trade. Yeah, Swan, I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to feel it once more. As much as I was mainly being hopeful before the start of the game, the first 5 minutes, they have been without kills, but they have been with several moments where the Hawks have looked pretty good, pretty confident. And that's, so important for both of these teams coming fresh off a loss.
It really is. And at the moment, there is still average parity. Yeah, it's about 300k, 300 gold lead, but that could be swung with a person, with one of the people, one of the laners missing a wave of CS, and that's it. It doesn't matter anymore. It's just net neutral, but it's important that the Hawks have already pulled ahead very slowly and also are looking to get this dragon or maybe even an early gank.
Yeah, the first dragon will be the mountainous one as Tussle makes their way down to the bottom lane. Manages to escape across the wall as it's going to be a 2v1 play down the bottom. Usapon doesn't quite get stunned up. And it looks like the Hawks' bot lane play evaporates before it begins.
Okay, so Dasher has got that. Ooh.
Living up to the name. Half health once again. But this time Steel is here to try and make the punish. We have got the flash available. Dasher gets absolutely chunked, but is able to dash away and holds onto the summoner.
And throughout a lot of this team haven't really been able to reply with anything. I need to be watching back next time if we do happen to get a replay, which I doubt because no kills happened. What was Tussle doing throughout all of that with Pooh? It seemed like they were just kind of awkwardly running around, not doing a huge amount, and they could have been taking the dragon. They could have at least been pulling pressure away from that mid lane, or even clearing out the pink ward that's sitting at the back for the side of DFM. It raises more questions on where the pressure is really being put when they actually seem to have pressure going in other directions.
Yes, I'm also a little bit confused here because we are going to be seeing DFM being the ones to get onto the Drake instead of the heirs apparent Hawks, who are at least somewhat in the area. Of course, we've got the speed shrine here to provide vision of what is going on, but there's not even an attempt to get the one back, and no Lee Sin steals forthcoming.
Nope, and that was it. Lee Sin couldn't get it. Rift Herald's going to be up in 40 seconds. Going to probably try and dive here on Ebby at least.
Right now, Evie is a little bit behind in CS. We noted, of course, it's the range versus melee matchup. Both of them, of course, sitting on their ultimates. Both of them sitting on their teleports. I'm really excited to see what these top laners can do when they finally get the chance to unleash themselves into a proper team fight.
I mean, at the moment, currently, it's going to be really important on who Ebby puts into his prison, his dark realm. What's it called again? Kenneth, if you happen.
I think just Death Realm.
Death Realm. Yes, his Death Realm. Thank you, production, for confirmation. Appreciate it. With the Death Realm, it really depends if he gets Aramik or does he get someone like Pooh or Tussle. If he gets Aramik, huge AoE damage taken away. Exactly what you said while we were in that champ select. Problem is, if he gets someone like Dasher, well, Dasher doesn't care. Dasher's more than happy to go into that Death Realm. He can 1v1 Ebby in a lot of spots and even in some cases actually kill him. So it's going to be super important who Ebby actually is going to be able to secure. The other thing is going to be Ebby has TP, Aramik doesn't at this moment in time because of the spellbook.
Yeah, we'll need to burn through the Ignite to get that back again as the fight for the blue buff goes in Steel's favor as they will grab it for themselves. There's a lot of pressure being built up on the bottom tower as Utapon has had the ability to basically free hit it for quite some time. There is a Herald picked up, though, for the Hawks.
Yeah, we've not seen a huge amount of priority be placed on these bot lanes at the moment. Ooh, still? Nah.
There we go. There's the flash finally being taken out, even with that parallel convergence shield.
Yeah, I think that was more just out of respect, rather saying that, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you and Syros were to dive me. They have got the CC chain you can get from the Volibear and the Syndra, as well as the Syndra wasn't blown either, so it's purely playing that respect, especially with that Volibear ultimate, not wanting to die, get dove or anything. Say, nah, I'll flash, it's fine. I don't want to get ulted, I don't want to do all of this. Nah, we're cool. We're cool. But my Lee Sin is probably going to drop the Rift Herald soon and probably get some plates, and you're not going to like that, so yeah, have fun with that.
Yeah, for the Hawks, if they can take that Rift Herald drop and turn it into a first tower as well, I have to think that's ideal. Right now, though, down the bottom lane, we can see the CS has fallen off for the Hawks. Advantage Utapon right now. Up in the top, it's the opposite story. But in the mid, Dasher has done exceedingly well, despite being a melee into ranged, much as the top lane is the opposite.
Yeah, part of that is due to just
Oh, the nice use of the cleanser to keep Honey alive flashes under the tower as beautiful arrow, but the aggro was taken by Gang, and that means there's no kill in return. That's first blood for DFM, and Pooh is out of there before the favor can be turned into 2.
That was phenomenal performance from the side of DFM there. They were able to juggle the turret aggro as well as at the same time juggle around their bot lane abilities. They perfectly called it. Beautiful Fate's call, and I almost didn't even think they were going to be able to get the kill there because he was just so far back. Honey had given so much wide berthing, so much respect. Didn't matter. Was able to find it, and a really clever use from Tussle there to get those turret plates. Put Shelly behind. If it's behind, it's gonna just hit. And it did. Turret plates over to mid and jungle. Gotta feel happy. So, Gang actually missed that dash on to Honey there. But 1, 2, cleanse, knock up. Look at the amount of stacks that are in there for Rend, and pop the Weasel. I do like how Utapon basically tried to go for the third extra, well, just that extra auto attack. Really push the power limit as, oh dear, Gang.
Pooh is the one who grabs hold of the first kill for the Hawks as they manage to flock around near the Dragon Pit. It's going to be Cloud coming up next in just a few seconds' time, so couldn't be better time for the Hawks to pick up that surprise kill.
Yeah, really uncharacteristic. Gang is not a player that normally wanders so far out, rarely gets involved in any fights or gets picked off, tries to just look after his vision, but doesn't want to stray too far unless he knows he's got full priority. And now, with this Cloud Drake, which means we won't be seeing a Cloud Rift, thankfully.
Well, TP, though, coming in. It looks like DFM, they're not willing to give this one up without a fight. And the Hawks actually just walk away. They don't want to take this fight right now. So Death Realm is going to drop in for Honey. They have got the slows to keep Eevee at bay, though, and the arrow as well. But the grass will be bringing them back into kill range. So it's a Drake and a kill. DFM get everything they want. Hawks get nothing.
I have to smile a little bit. I can tell production's getting a little bit tilted by you calling Ebby Eevee, and
that's right.
I'm just enjoying it. I'm just enjoying it as he's our corrector. Corrects us on our pronunciation and
the voice of God is here. And next time I'm coming back into this cat.
Oh my. The voice.
Wait, have I been saying Eevee the whole time?
Not all the time. Occasionally, you hear what I say and you repeat what I said. But other times, you just start saying Eevee, and then I just see the production notes going screaming, and I'm like, I'll say something. This is fun.
I saw it written down as EV/B, and I was like, what does that mean? So just to make sure I'm completely okay with it, so it's spelt Eevee, but it said EB.
Ebby.
Evie. Okay.
Ebby.
Evie.
Ebby. Ebby is shrimp in Japanese, if that helps.
Alright, he's not Evie, he's me brother.
And
wonderful.
What? Yeah. Yes. Whatever works for you, Counterfeit. Absolutely.
Alright. So, I mean, a lot of the weight has been shouldered of the top lane disadvantage for Evie with that kill. There we go. See, I'm all on top of it already. But we have got a big precedent with DFM up in the top lane. They have got that first tower in the bot. Now they're looking for a second.
Ooh, but tower plating is even currently, especially through that bot lane turret being gone, with all the tower plate being thrown onto Utapon and Steel. Though Steel isn't too interested in the gold, Utapon definitely is, and this might be a Utapon carry game, something I actually mentioned in the pregame. Makes me feel big and smart.
I was gonna say, you seem like you're tooting your own horn there.
Oh yeah. I mean, why else would I be doing 8 games in a row of casting? I've got to give myself a bit of a pick-me-up going, well, yes, I did call this, and this is game number 8. Well, look at how smart my brain is. I'm very smooth brain. 2K.
Well, we've got the big brain play from DFM. They're going to grab hold of the second Herald. But Dasher, what's been going on has been their own Herald. They've grabbed hold of the first tower for the Hawks, as it looks like Yatapon is going to be locked down. There's no support for Armic here. They're going to try and get the 1v1, and it's not going to work because there's 2 assists coming for DFM.
Did you see how quickly Steel and Gang just like immediately jumped on Aramic when they vaguely came into our screen? There was deletion nation. However, it's really well played by Utapon there, dancing around really beautifully, using the Blade of the Ruin King to use every additional stat to slow Aramic down, because Aramic really needed to try and land some of those auto attacks. Utapon was dashing so quickly, Aramic just didn't have the what's it, actions per minute. Though TP coming in, no, I don't think you're gonna get it, Dasher.
Oh, there's going to be a pincer maneuver being played here from the Hawks, as finally Tussle's going to start to get in, actually pushing away the bear friend. The arrow lands, but it's going to be immediately taken away. Dasher finally gets the kill, and the Hawks strike. They do grab themselves a kill, and that's got to be worth something.
Yeah, it's putting them back on this board. It gives Honey something as well for their time, and that was a kill for Dasher this time, not a kill over to Pooh, which is pretty important, as their only kill before this had been on Pooh, if I remember everything correctly. But I might also not be, and it was already on Dasher, and now Pooh's just got a kill, and that means all of this means absolutely...
Commit!
It means absolutely
Commit,
nothing.
Swan.
I'm going to go with it was Dasher, and production also agree with me before I see that note, so I am big and smart and handsome in every way, and Dasher has now extended his gold lead over Siros, which is now above 1k, probably 1,300 if math serves me right. And also, there is an advantage, however, on the opposite end for Utapon, and we'll probably be looking at about a 2.3k gold lead now over Honey. Honey is not a player, though. Regularly gets out-farmed. That is one of his few stats that he is normally above every AD carry in the LJL. Not been working out. Though, this Infernal Drake's coming up, and I think I've probably done enough talking for the moment.
Well, I mean, to touch back on Honey again, they've got the cull to be able to make up for some of that CS disparity, and it's relatively close to getting set off, so they should hopefully be able to catch up on Utapon, though. 2 kills behind is not ideal. There is at least the Blade of the Ruined King for Honey. Now we've got the Infernal Rift and the first Infernal Drake. Honey immediately cleansing out and gets out.
Oh, it's perfect. Gang is more than happy to trade off his ultimate for Honey's cleanse, because he's like, mate, you know, like half of our team basically get to eat you whenever we want. Ebby gets to put you in the death realm. Steel just wants to jump on top of you. Siros will happily stun you if he gets the opportunity. You can cleanse out the death realm, but oh dear.
Arrow goes through the middle, but there's a lot of damage onto Steel. Utapon, down very low. Dasher comes in and starts giving it the pain down to DFM. Aramik is going to be able to keep away the Mordekaiser as well, as looking at the Hawks will take control of the Drakes. Ebby is not too heavy to get away from this fight. Kind of walk this one away as Dasher on the backside will get the parallel convergent shield, but not the stun. The Drake, I have to think, is falling now as Dasher continues to work around the back of the fight. The Infernal Drake is taken. The split fight as Dasher holds at bay all of DFM.
I'm genuinely impressed how Dasher did that. He played perfectly around his team. Came in. Is unfortunate that Aramik did perish to Ebby, and that was the only kill throughout most of that fight. But what's really important here is the zoning that happened. DFM had full control of this dragon. The Ash ult just went completely past everyone, and that should be where DFM feel really comfortable. Problem is, that's not actually how it went, because Lee Sin was able to put a lot of annoyance out and displacement throughout all of that. Through this, Ebby was able to continuously put Aramik in the death realm and kill him. Problem is, the rest of his team are pretty low, and they've already lost their AD carry, meaning they've lost the majority of their damage, and they now just have to run away with their tails between their legs, as Utapon had all their damage. He died really early on, and that was it, all she wrote, really. Well played by the Hawks, securing that dragon, preventing that dragon's soul, and also picking up a kill for their time.
And if this is an anime, Dasher very much the protagonist there, putting the team onto their shoulders, but we've got the cat there onto Arik. They do, of course, have the ability to double stun. Watch it out for Tussle coming in from the side, because Evie is already down pretty low on health, trying to buy time for the rest of the squad to arrive, and arrive they will. The Hawks going to turn the play. Evie will be chased away as Gang is also fleeing. The arrow, this time, it won't miss, and the double knockup as well from the Alistair. Steel is forced to flee away using the ult just to try and escape, but the Hawks are relentless. They're chasing down DFM. They're going to drop 3 kills. No, maybe 4. The Alistair crowd control opens up the possibility. Dasher is the one to take it. And oh, look, what is that? It's the big purple one. And it's the meal ticket for Hawks to the rest of the game.
I'm sorry, Counterfeit. I'm sorry I ever doubted the Hawks. I'm sorry.
You should be, sir.
I am so confused. DFM just completely zoned in and tunnel visioned fully on Aramik only. Didn't have any vision around the around top lane. Only inside the jungle did they actually have vision, not actually within the river, realizing that they could get completely collapsed upon. And watch the minimap here. This is what's more important than the rest of all of this. So Aramik and Ebby Ebby and Gang rather, don't actually stack their ultimates correctly. Means that they can just get out. Aramik just gets to run around. He's in the death realm, so Gang doesn't know where he is. He gets to run around this bush. Hilarious this whole time. Look at where the members of DFM are, and look at the members of the Hawks. They only know vaguely where the Hawks are throughout all of this. Beautiful combo wombo there, especially landing that really long ult from Honey. Honey is really far away, but they don't need him because occasionally he can just land a hawk shot, get that vision. Pooh really waited a long time for that knockup, but gets it as well. And gee, well played for the Hawks outside of everything they've played so far. Dasher is playing phenomenally. Tussle's finding a lot of opportunities, and while Honey's not getting a lot of the kill participation, well, he's actually getting the kill participation, he's not getting the kills. It doesn't matter, as those Ashe ults have been on point, and Pooh's unkillable.
Yeah, I mean, Pooh just was absolutely crazy during those last fights, how much they were sliding for, but I wanted to turn it back to Tussle once again. We saw in the previous game, early game, 100% kill participation junglers. That's what's happened in this game as well. And I think that's got to be why, for the Hawks, they're really getting the chance to show what they're capable of here.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I really want to hammer on your point there, that Tussle is ahead of Steel. I mean, in the mid lane, there's about a 2.5k gold lead now for Dasher. And I don't know if you really want this fight, Ebby, unless you've got all your mates with you. You do have all your mates with you. I don't know if you can catch Dasher, even with all your friends.
Alright, so Dasher will have the ultimate.
I don't know.
And they're going to go. No, they've got to go back straight in place as Dasher trying to get away. So what is the rest of the Hawks going to do? Now there's been a full three-person commit. There's pressure down the bottom. It looks like maybe the mid as well. But DFM, they've got to make this kill count.
Yeah, that's a Baron play, and they've only got about 30 seconds. They haven't done a huge amount of Baron plays on after this. They did happen to get that collapse onto them, but that was part of DFM's gift to them, it seemed. Now they're trying to find a way to push in, and it looks like they're not actually going to get any pressure, except for a little Drake has popped up. Just while they happen to have the end of Baron. Pretty useful.
Yeah, this is important because we can see the power play has actually ended up negative here. It started out at 1500.
It is positive.
Does that not include the 1500 to get from the Baron?
They got plus 12. Production? This is why we have production. They can Google things and look stuff up.
All right, well, we'll come back to that in a minute, because at least the Infernal Drake did get secured. So we are in a world where the Hawks could end up with a 4 Infernal Drake, Infernal Soul if things keep going this way.
And with Honey stacking that with this Ashe, with Dasher, with Tussle, with Aramik, they kind of dreamed about this, but they didn't think it would be possible. And they really didn't think it would be possible against DFM. Look at the world they're currently in, and oh my god, 81% in the Hawks' favor. Well, episode 25 of the podcast is going to be a good one, ladies and gentlemen. I can guarantee you that. Yeah, I'll keep plugging it. I don't care. Go listen to our podcast. It's hot fire, and we basically recap everything, so you don't have to watch a lot of games. I'm not even joking.
What is your podcast called, Swan? Because I noticed that's something you guys have been leaving out.
Oh, it's just the LJL Officially Unofficial podcast. You can't if you type in LJL podcast, we're the only one that pops up. Can't.
Excellent.
Yeah, we have a monopoly on the market. At least in the English speaking world, relatively speaking.
All right. So back to the game.
Yeah, sure.
We're coming up on 26 minutes. We've got a Baron in under 1.5 minutes. There was, for the Hawks, they already managed to slam down that 21-minute Baron. A second one that feels like it could be backbreaking, as DFM did a good job at defending against the first one, but I think eventually something's got to give.
Yeah. Something will have to give, and it might just be these Barons and Dragons that the Hawks just keep stacking up. Okay, you do also seem to be correct. I am a man that is willing to admit when I am wrong. It's a positive Baron play, but it's a negative one because, yeah, you do start with 15k. 1,500 gold, rather. So it's a negative one, but it's still positive because we've actually seen negatives in the LJL. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the difference there was from Aramik getting killed. I mean, that was 300 gold off. So that was, I guess by itself, yeah, you're right. It wasn't the worst it could have been. It wasn't a negative trade. But at the same time, it didn't feel like the Hawks really managed to make any progress with that Baron Ruff because they were down to 4 members.
But in that same light, you could argue they're just stalling this game out and they are just waiting to hit them item spikes. They've also got the dragons going their way, and if they can get those 3 Infernal Dragons, this comp looks real dirty moving forward.
Yeah, and for looking at some of the inventories, the extra gold that is in place for the Hawks, they've got the Quicksilver in place for Honey, so they are no longer vulnerable to the Death Realm, unless, of course, we see layered crowd control onto the Hawks AD carry. But we've got Cleanse, we've got QSS. Doesn't seem like Honey is a really good target anymore for getting CC to death.
Yeah, but you've still got to pick one of them. Is it? Oh, you're gonna take Aramik, but Ebby's been losing every 1v1 versus Aramik. So you go, okay, well, Ebby can't Death Realm Aramik, even though that's kind of the one they want to Death Realm, but they can't. So okay, who's the next one? Well, you don't really. I guess it's like Dasher, but then you can't kill Dasher, so he'll just ult back to full health and kill you. Or maybe Tussle, but then it's at least in. He's going to dash in, dash out, and he's probably not going to die in the Death Realm because he can just run away.
Oh, nice play there onto Yutapon, already down to half health as Tussle does dash out. Pooh is right in the mix, looking to try and take down Yutapon. There's a slicing maelstrom. Yutapon still survives, though, but it will be at least a kill across, as Evie, using the Death Realm, is also locking themselves in place, while the Volibear of Steel falls as well. Dasher is on the hunt again. Saras will be able to keep them at bay for just a second, but Tussle with the shield, with the follow-up, and with the locking down of the kill, the Hawks, they pounce once more.
And they're running straight to Baron. I love this. 2 of the members are just hanging around mid lane just to see what the rest of them are doing. Honey and Aramik are going to be able to pump down this Baron pretty quickly with Tussle's assistance as he does come over. It looks like what we're going to be seeing is Dasher is going to be resetting and then going straight towards this dragon as he wants to be able to reset. He also does have teleport, so he can come in and help his team out if they need it. He's teleporting in.
Yeah, you see that teleport ward on the backside of the fight. Evie doesn't see anything but a grey screen as Yutapon can bring themselves across the wall, but it's not going to be stopping this second Baron for the Hawks. That lead continues to grow up now to nearly 6,000 gold. Let's see if this Baron power play can be more impactful.
And look at this. Dash is immediately running over to that dragon and also pushing the mid turret. What's important here is immediately as you caught, Dasher gets straight in, knocks up, throws Yutapon, half healths him, and then from there, none of the members of the Hawks are able to go lower. Yutapon is immediately thrown, gang is then turned upon, just blown up immediately, and then they turn on to Syros. Dasher has so backline, is immediately able to blow up Steel, and now they don't have to worry about any of the members contesting this Baron afterwards. Syros just eats it after Tussle jumps on top of Dasher and says, my kill. Mate, it's my kill. My kill. And this is also the 3rd Infernal Drake. These are going to start stacking up and actually meaning something now. And oh my god, this entire game. Look at how much damage has been dealt by Dasher, Honey, and Aramik, even though a majority of gold has been funneled into Yutapon.
Yeah, that is just absolutely bonkers stuff. For Saras as well, to be at this point in the game with 0 kills secured at all, it's going to be bitterly disappointing for DFM, as who will be the focus of aggression will be able to look after themselves for the most part, but it doesn't look like this is the fight the Hawks actually want to take. Who is going to be able to get away as the Death Realm again puts the Mordekaiser into a maybe awkward position. We'll get the kill. Ultimately, the Hawks falling back. This could be the chance for DFM, but they're happy and will have to settle at least for the single kill.
What happened to Tussle there? Because it looked like he kicked something and at the same time then just teleported over to the Dragon Pit for me. Weird one, but he got out the way and God intended, I'm guessing, so... Bit unfortunate that Pooh did get... Oh, no.
Surely not! Dasher is just... Holy moly, that damage! The Hawks, from a disadvantaged position, they're still up for a fight! Evie is going to be chased away. Steel is on low health as well. Dasher, of course, is leading the charge with Tussle there to back them up. Good use of those invincibility frames as the Hawks, they're not going to wait for anything. Pooh is still coming back to the fight. but the Hawks turn the play and get another tower.
You asked them, Counterfeit, can they have a more positive Baron play? How does killing 3 members of DFM and also securing the Dragon sound? Is that better? Oh, and also mid-turret. And mid-turret. Is that better?
I think that's a little bit more acceptable.
Okay, it's starting to hit up to your acceptability. Okay, my lord.
I have high expectations, Swan, in this.
You have LPL expectations.
The Hawks are my LPL. They are all our LPL on this day, and I expect them to take their lead, to run it, slam it right into the faces of DFM, and say, we may have lost out earlier today, but it's not taken our anime hearts from us. We are going to just, not throw away a nearly, 7,000 goal lead, 3 Infernal Drakes. If there's ever a time to see the Hawks take the center stage, it's as a result of this game taking out a team higher than them on the table.
And you just have to look at the items that have come in. We've hit a 3-item spike for Aramik with that Morellinomicon, the Zonya Hourglass, and that Proto Belt. We've got the same for Tussle with his Warrior Enchantment, the GA just coming in, and that Black Cleaver. But let's be real, the MVP when it comes to looking at these items of pure beauty, it's on Dasher. He's got that Rabadon's Death Cap on top of the Lich Bane, on top of the Zonya and that Proto Belt. If he wants someone, I think by law now he has them. I think that's how it works, at least playground rules wise.
I mean, it's been the case so far in this game. Every time Dasher has just been, from right back at that dragon fight from before, you could see DFM, they were wary of Dasher. They sensed something that we should all be clear to us now, that Dasher is horrendous, and they will do whatever they please as DFM try and salvage once more. Tussle does get chewed down, has got the Guardian Angel to keep themselves alive to get pulled back into the squad. Here comes Dasher, here comes the damage. Honey on the side as the slicing maelstrom comes in, and the DFM becomes so much salami. They have been sliced, they've been diced, they've been reduced to cinders as the Hawks play with them. Saros is chased out of their own base as a triple kill for Tussle. Let's make it a quadra. Not gonna happen, but that is all. Hawks standing proud as they have open, unfettered access to the DFM base.
And what's super important is this gold that they're pulling the advantage. It's almost 9k now. It's almost hitting that 10k point. And this is perfectly fine because Siros knows eventually he will perish while the Hawks absolutely obliterate their base. They won't be able to end, but they can do one better. They can... Oh, maybe they can end. This is aggressive. Okay, I'll let you take this.
Yes, the Hawks managed to get down the first Nexus Tower, and going to be seeing Steel again chased out as Gang falls under the weight of the damage. There's only 1 kill on Honey, but they are tearing through. The Nexus is going to be torn apart as the Hawks, they take a ludicrously good win there. And they are ahead by over 10,000 gold. It's the story coming true. Hawks, I knew I was right to believe in you.
The Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks just defeated Detonation FocusMe, and Detonation FocusMe have just gone 0-4. I'm stunned. We need to go on a break and compose our thoughts. You believed, and I was a non-believer. Maybe faith can still be restored in the league after this quick break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And we had an Australian on the cast earlier, and clearly something has gone wrong because everything in the LJL is upside down. Axis beat Sengoku, CGA beat V3, and the Hawks just beat Detonation FocusMe, a team that was dead last split, beats the winners of the spring split. The winners of the spring split are now tied with the Hawks at 4 and 6. This is the second 0-2 weekend in a row for DFM domestically, and before the break, but they have never had a 0-2 weekend in the LJL period during a domestic split. Tell me about how amazing this Hawks win was, Counterfeit. What on earth? You were right. The predictions were there. I should have believed. He called it.
You did.
I'm sorry, I doubted you, man.
It's okay. I'm magnanimous. You can all join the flock now.
Teach me your wise ways. Explain to me what was going on with the Hawks this game.
Okay, so I think, I think the big thing that kind of like came out here, which I don't think people were really expecting coming into this, and I have to admit I probably wasn't really expecting either, was how dominant Dasher was. I feel like his performance lifted up everyone else. Aramik on the Kennen was effectively just playing support to what Dasher was doing in these team fights. They were being locked down so very well because that Slicey Maelstrom, you start throwing in parallel convergences as well. You've got a team fight where you can barely even move.
Very true. And I think we do want to sort of touch a little bit more on Dasher. This is a man who in 2019 was the MVP mid of the entire year, had played a fantastic series of League of Legends throughout 2019. Comes into 2020, the Hawks have this incredible super team. Dasher's moved up into the top lane. Ramane, this OG god who had broken Seros before, was their new mid laner. It was all looking golden, and the team collapses. Dasher moves back to the mid lane. And even then, towards the beginning of the split, we saw some fantastic performances, and we saw some performances where Dasher would go very deep and not find a way out. Turns out Echo, that's not so much of an issue. What were you thinking about that Echo performance in this particular game, Lexi? What were your thoughts on Dasher's play?
I mean, this was just the Dasher we expected back in the beginning of Spring Split. We've seen this from a few players now in the LJL, where we expected certain play, a level of play from them way back in Spring. Or at least halfway through to the end of Spring. That's where you're like, okay, players have started coming online. Apparently, Spring was a washout. In the end, it was DFM still to take because they were still the best by a while. However, coming into summer, we've seen a fair few players now go from either decent or higher expectations were given. Paz is coming to mind. Appermen is coming to mind. Few of these top laners are coming to mind for me. Few of these junglers are coming to mind to me. And I'm like, Dasher was on that list where I had high expectations. I thought he was okay at points, but then he also did a hard int. Go check out our podcast where I defend him a little bit. But in all credit, this was the Dasher I was expecting in Spring. And he's suddenly here. The Echo rewards him for his playstyle. He wants to get in down and dirty and then also throw the rewind time button. It worked beautifully and the team rallied behind it.
And he absolutely did a massive amount of work in that game. Used the Echo pick into the Syndra. I know it's something the LJL has used into Syndra before. And he makes it work. Managed to invalidate a lot of the damage Syndra wants to do. Parallel convergence, making Seros' life a nightmare. Played it super well. Having said that, it's another game where DFM come out to an early lead and throw it horribly away. Talk me through DFM's early game Counterfeit and where it was going right to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, certainly down in the bottom side, it seemed like it was on the right kind of course. And I was honestly really shocked by how the game kind of developed out from there. I think a lot of credit has got to be given across to Tussle and Pooh later on, that they turned it from a game which was kind of going somewhat according to the song sheet for DFM into just a long-running brawl where, it felt like the kind of picks that the Hawks are bringing out here were able to overwhelm any individual skill difference that might have been there.
And I do want to talk about one of those particular brawls that really broke the back of this game, namely that top lane bush bait that was trying to catch weak side Aramik out. And to DFM's credit, Aramik face checks, but he survives the engage. Talk me through it, Lexi.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh.
Should I have asked this question to him? He looks in misery here. Go on, try and do it.
Let's figure this out. While we watch the recap on stream, I'm just saying, I'm screaming at DFM, what is your vision? What are you actually looking for here? You only have vague ideas on where half of the members of the Hawks are. You shouldn't be committing this hard. You want... Okay, at the beginning... Ebby and Gang don't sequence their abilities well at all together. They just throw a Leona ult, and they've already missed it because Ebby's already pulled them in. Alright, well, that's half of Leona's kit just gone immediately. They then try and fight, Death Realm gets procced, and Aramik just gets to do a beautiful loop around, and it's like, well, okay, that's funny. And then the whole of the Hawks come in for the and then actually slam into the rest of DFM one after another. Dasher dashes forward. Tussle then does it, then does the Lee syndrome, but he actually does it well and gets kills. It's great when that happens. And then while that's all happening, Honey's desperately trying to keep up with the team because he doesn't have it. But before he actually is trying to keep up with the team, he lands a gorgeous Ashe ult, hits two members of the team, stunning them, immediately deletes them, and well, after that, the fight just ended. They're able to get a Baron, and I mean, they just completely overthrew the game after that.
And I kind of have to call out a little bit here of Utapon as well. Came out to a big 2,000 gold lead individually and really couldn't leverage that in team fights. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't the easiest game to play. Callista, Kennen, and Echo, and an Alistar diving at you can be pretty rough. But the fact that you were down multiple thousands of damage to a Syndra who was down 2,000 gold herself is a bit of a question mark. And it just didn't really feel like it worked out that well this game. Can I take our eyes back a little bit, sort of as a broader picture here? Where does this put the league? Because DFM, we said they're going to come into this week, revitalize, look like a new team, challenge for the top. They didn't. And I'm also aware that on that coaching graph, that wasn't On Air's name on there. That was Gizmo. That was a second coach on there. And I don't know what that means about whether On Air is stuck back in Korea somewhere and can't get to LJL, and that's affecting practice.
No.
But
On
either
Air
way,
hit #1 Korea challenger in Japan. He must be in
so
Japan.
he's around.
In theory.
But in theory. So there we go.
Counterfeit. Yeah, the DFM head coach hit #1 challenger in the Japanese server. Just cause...
He's a pretty good player, in fairness, by him. But
I like how he's just like, I just saw Counterfeit just go, wait, what just happened?
Oh yeah, that's damn good. This guy has been around for a while. He's been a monster coach and player for some time. But what does this mean for the league? And I'll focus on DFM for now because we've kind of celebrated the Hawks here and their pretty incredible victory and good brawling. But
would you like
DFM,
standings up or?
I think we'll be okay with where we're at.
Okay.
Just take me through, what does it mean to go 0-4 and drop a game to the Hawk, all people? I will throw this at you, Lexi, just because you have got a little bit more experience in the league.
Yeah, I mean, this is devastating. We were predicting how things could go out for DFM, and I actually said if they go 0-2, there is a magical Christmas land where they don't make playoffs. Part of that magical Christmas land has actually occurred, because I also said on the podcast, if Axis can find a way to go 1-1, I'll give them a chance. Okay, Axis went 1-1, not in the way I thought they would, but they did it. Rascal Jesters are in a spot where if they go 2-0, there's a chance, but they're the least likely team currently with how things are playing out. Sadly, someone has to be at the bottom. The Hawks have a lease on life because they beat Detonation FocusMe. The Burning Core is now our 4th best team. And how it's going out, it feels like that, yeah. And after that, the rest of the standings. DFM, God, I never expected this, and they don't have time to recover because it's super weak.
Yeah, they have 2 more games tomorrow and 2 more games next week. That is the window of time to turn things around. They've had 3 weeks to try and get stuff together, and frankly, they haven't. It's looking like a bit of a mess for DFM here in some ways. Again, good early mechanical stuff in lane, but the mid game has been atrocious. For the Hawks, though, that might have guaranteed them playoff contention. They're 2 games ahead of Rascal Jesters. They're 3 games ahead of Axis.
Yeah, it's given them the lease that they really needed. Having that 2-win advantage is a huge buffer. We're seeing that buffer already being important in the top standings for that gauntlet match later on. We're seeing it being incredibly important. If Rascal Jester or Axis don't pick up a win, and the Hawks do happen to pick up a win, or DFM pick up a win, it basically locks them out. If both Detonation FocusMe and the Hawks can pick up 1 win, it basically puts a virtual lock-in, because the teams that Rascal Jester and Axis have to face against, it's almost impossible, or very unlikely, as we've got teams like Sengoku, Crest Gaming Act, and V3 that they still need to play in the gauntlet going around, so gonna be tough.
Okay, well, with that, let's move on to a bit of a roundup of our Week 5 come day 1 of the Super Week here. Game 1 was, of course, Sengoku Gaming versus Axis, where Axis went 1-0, taking down Sengoku Gaming in a shocking upset. Next game was, of course, Rascal Jesters versus Sengoku Gaming, and that was a little bit more like it for Sengoku Gaming. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was what I was dubbing that one over on Twitter, as it was a bit of a bloody massacre is how we put that one. Jesters then went up against Burning Core, and Burning Core won that one, and won the game after as well, where Burning Core tucked down Axis. Which point we started heading into our second half of the bracket, where V3 and DFM faced off. We got so hyped, and V3 ran away with that victory. We saw how that one went. Of course, it was V3 CGA, and upsets galore. It happens again. CGA bring down the V3, who were, of course, our number 1 team. And then, of course, you two lads just cast our last 2 games there. It was CGA versus the Hawks, where CGA dismantled the Hawks. And the last game here, we've just been talking about it. Hawks versus CG versus DFM. The Hawks with a shocking upset victory there to get themselves up to 4-6 alongside DFM. Gents, looking at that list of games, any of those you kind of want to touch on a little before we start thinking about a round?
I mean, the big 3 are V3 CGA, Axis Sengoku, Hawks DFM. That is, the V3 CGA was something that we had a lot of a conversation about on the podcast, but the other 2 were afterthoughts. We thought they were done deals, right?
Yeah. 0-8 Axis, take down 6-2 Sengoku.
Yeah.
What? We had V3's undefeated streak break down finally. They lose after taking down DFM and looking pretty good. And we've just been over the Hawks versus DFM amount as well. Counterfeit Maswan, looking down towards tomorrow. Don't know if you guys have got the schedules open at all, but if you can cast your eyes towards it. Any games there you guys are kind of interested in? I'll throw this to Maswan in case Counterfeit needs to go gather some quick those.
I mean, tomorrow, going forward, surprisingly, the most exciting matchup for me now is going to be DFM versus Burning Core.
I completely agree with you. I think that one could be really telling.
This was actually, so day 1 of Super Week is actually the exciting week. That's where a lot of the big matches are happening. That's why we had V3 DFM, V3 CGA. Day 2 is actually, in theory, our quote-unquote stomp day. It's our fun day, relatively speaking, where, in theory, Sengoku beat beat Burning Core, V3 beat the Hawks. It's a lot of this kind of high team versus low team. We don't have that a lot, except the only middle team we have is really now DFM versus Burning Core, and oh god, this might be a really bad one if DFM go to a 5-0, an 0-5 rather.
All right, and yourself, Counterfeit, anything in there that's catching your eye?
You know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the Hawks. Look at the Hawks taking flight.
Yes.
and taken over
Yes.
the LJL. They are going to see a vulnerable V3 in the third game of the day. They're going to leap on them, disembowel them, and you'll see posted to Twitter all the players from the Hawks with some, I don't know, locally sourced sausages devouring the entrails of V3. They're vulnerable. This is the time for the Hawks to take over, and that's what you will see tomorrow.
The thing is, I'd love to disagree with you, but having kind of been slightly shell-shocked by 3 out of the 8 games today, I can't even strictly disagree in good conscience.
So, initialize.
It's going to happen.
We're never having guests on the show again, because this...
No, they're never coming back. They're ruining everything, it's all gone wrong, and it's all your fault. You and Everyday are the problem.
We had a beautiful script set up, Riot sent it over, and that first-class mail, we collected it each. I've got my book of notes, as does Initialize and Nymera.
Not anymore, I don't.
No, they're out the board now. This is pointless. This means nothing now. I hope you're happy, Counterfeit, and you look very happy with yourself, so you should be.
I'm extremely happy. I'm Hawks all the way, baby. It's all the way to the top.
I remember being
All right,
that for the
I
Hawks.
love the faith, I love the bandwagoning, and thank you again, Counterfeit, for coming and joining us as a guest today on the Super Week. Your assistance was much required. My throat thanks you, if only because I can still speak by the end of all of these 8 games. Give the floor to you, sir. Is there anything you'd like to shout out? Twitter handles, things you'd like us to follow? Floor is yours, sir.
I suppose it would probably make sense in terms of people who are watching this who might be interested. It's a shame. I'm not sure quite what the status is at the moment with the way the virus is kind of throwing the world into a little bit of confusion. But at least long term, Opalcast, twitch.tv/Opalcast is where you can find the unofficial LPL broadcasts. Not currently, but in the future once things settle down a bit. So I think if you're an LJL fan, based on what we saw today, I think you might well enjoy the LPL stuff as well.
Well, thanks again. I do love myself some of that UEB. It's some great stuff for the LPL. But thanks again, Counterfeit. Mass1, any final thoughts here before we look to wrap out the day?
What's happened to our region? What happened?
You got LJL'd.
Okay, it's been 8 games solid casting for Mass1, and I'd love to allow him some space to breathe, and he needs to rest, he needs to recover, because we have another 8 games tomorrow. We'll probably split those ones up, guys, likely do the last 4 live and do the first 4 as a kind of rebroadcast on Monday, if only because we are just 3 people doing this, and it is a lot of damn work to do all of it live like so. So look forward to catching those tomorrow, and hopefully Mass1 will be bit more back together, and if not, then the chaos should be as entertaining as it was today. But with that final thought from myself, from Mass1, from Everyday earlier in the cast, from Counterfeit at the end of it now, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for some more ridiculous LJL action. Who knows what's going to happen, eh?